Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic, fantastic. Glad you can hear me. Glad the music's coming through. Stand by. How was everyone's weekend? Oh, no camera. Yeah. There we go. We shall fix that. Atlam, how are you doing today? How was your weekend? Hopefully you hear me all right. Am I coming through clearly, loudly? Oh. Yeah, it's good. I didn't sleep very well last night, but overall I'm good. Anyway. Good. Nah, it's not so much that. I was just not very comfortable. I was just tossing and turning. Was a little restless because I've been like reading a new book and it kept me up late too, so just had my mind was racing because I wanted to keep reading. Oh, let's see here. Welcome back, everyone, to Mapmaker Monday. Sorry for the yawning. It's a little early still in Vegas. It's 9 a.m. Still in wake-up phase of my day. And as I was just saying, didn't sleep well last night because I was so, like, drawn into a book. That said, hope you all had an amazing weekend, and I hope your Monday is going well so far. The current map... Test. Huh. That was weird. I don't know what's going on. That was really random. I hope nothing's wrong with my computer because it's like all brand new parts. I've had 0 dropped frames, consistent frame rate. My bit rate is consistent. My CPU is running around really consistent to under 5% usage on my stream PC. Has no reason for the disconnect. Weird. That was awkward. Oh, anyway. It's working for now. This map is pretty much done. I was looking at it this morning. It's like pretty much donezo. Speaking of things on this map, Atlam, I actually need to coordinate with you a little bit regarding like those resolutions that were provided by Quentin and the discussions with Wim, because I'd like to try and get an updated list and probably like a reference image to show people kind of what they should do. Even just prototype one of some sort. But we'll talk about that more later. Can you hear me right now? I want to make sure. Fantastic. So awesome. Yeah, we'll talk some more about that later. What we've been working on here is what's called a landing page. a landing page is essentially a sort of a primer or like a loading screen, a diorama, if you will, of events and things in your campaign that are relevant to your campaign and your players. So in this instance, this one's based on the campaign that I play in. So I'm actually not the DM in this campaign. I'm the player. And we've been playing for little over a year now. I think we're pushing into like a year and a half. And we have gone through a lot of shenanigans, and we're hopefully wrapping up a major arc soon. So anyway, in kind of in honor of our campaign and the fact that we're wrapping up a big arc soon, most likely we're either going to die or we're going to wrap up an arc. Likely what's going to happen. So we are trying I'm trying to make this as a kind of a fun gift to the campaign, to have like a loading screen before everything. But what you can see here is a map that the DM made of his world. Mrs. Mac made this cool little wanted poster because we started here, which I actually have an updated image of this map that Mrs. Mac drew a little dotted line on for me. I drew out one really badly on another map image, and she helped me update it and added some points of interest. This down here is loaded with content related to our campaign. We've got this book, was a book we just destroyed, and what gave my character the shadeless feat, or the ability, I no longer have a shadow. This is images of our bastion. This is actually a drawn image of the current area we're at, which is called Vorthun's Maw. And this was drawn by the DM's wife, from my understanding. Other items have some relevance, like in the current cave we're in, before we got into the door, like there was a bunch of cultists in there, and I think they were trying to get in. And this was one of their, it was called a dream holder, so it's like a kind of a baby bee holder, I guess you could say. Different items on the table. One of our players has a cool flail they use. There's some images of our team. We've got some documents, like we have a deed for our mansion, our bastion. So it says Mongoose Mansion. Anyway, little things like that across the map to just kind of be thematic. Over here, we've got a lightning in a jar. So in one of our previous encounters, we helped this old woman and her niece and nephew, who were like running a shop that was being like attacked by gangsters, and they kept trying to get in and get into the basement. I guess under her home was like a really like crazy like burial area with like a whole bunch of like destroyed constructs and like other stuff down there that's really dangerous, or like half functional constructs. And I guess her nephew had gone down there and salvaged some living lightning bolts in jars, and they were using them for like lamps in their shop. But we confiscated those after we helped them, take care of the thugs and cleared the basement of anything that could be dangerous. But then we realized it'd be a persistent problem, so they ended up moving on to a new location. But, I mean, I'm always just looking for fun ways to use things, and both of these objects were from the workshop. This jar and this lightning bolt, I just combined them together by disabling collisions and merging them. Now they're just kind of one thing. Up here, we have this shadow of a dragon. Hey, Gray Lion, how you doing? Shadow of a dragon. That dragon's up here. I'm using the bust as like a shadow over the region we're in. It's kind of like a sort of like a visual storytelling device, because we're actually in the process of trying to clear this out of like all the bad and stuff in the area. We cleared one like kind of dungeon. We're in the process of clearing this major dungeon, which has kind of been a 3-part arc that started way over here. Anyway. Right, Tina? Hey, Naomi, how you doing? Hey, Sophie. Welcome back. I saw you were map building, but I saw it was a damn challenge map, so I had to avert my eyes because as the judge, I can't build any bias until, it's judgment day. Dun, 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 dun. Hope you had a wonderful stream. Welcome in, Raiders. Thank you so much for the raid. How is everyone doing today? I hope you're off to an amazing Monday. We've got, also, I just want to let the Raiders know we're live on multiple platforms as a multi-stream. So we're on Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Steam simultaneously. So if I'm chatting to anyone you don't see, that's why. You just did the prison map. You can always look. I'm not going to win. Oh, see, if you're going to make it an entry, I definitely don't want to look until it's entered, at least, you know? Hey, Rev, how you doing? I'm sorry, what's up, Naomi? What was the game creator? So, this is Dungeon Alchemist, is what you're looking at here. What Sophie was using in her stream, also. But this is the official channel of Dungeon Alchemist. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager. And what we're building right now is called a landing page. So it's a thematic kind of map. Think of it like a primer or like a diorama that is essentially like a loading screen or like a DVD screen, like a menu for your campaign. So in this case, it's one for my campaign where I'm actually a player. I've just gathered a bunch of content from the campaign and assets from our stock assets and from the Steam Workshop and put them together in this neat little diorama that's representative of the campaign. So using Dungeon Alchemist, I placed all these assets together, and I'm kind of using it as a sort of set piece where I'll either record a video or take a picture. So it's called Dungeon Alchemist, Naomi. It's available on Steam. We offer a free demo so you can try it out. And we were kind of just explaining what we're making here. This isn't the main use case for Dungeon Alchemist. It's actually kind of an outlier use case. Normally you make maps that are like battle maps or top-down maps, environments, villages, stuff like that. Like this map right here is actually of our base. This is the first floor, second floor, and then the roof, and that's the whole exterior there. But that was made in Dungeon Alchemist. There are definitely some spider caves that people have made. You know what I'm going to do? Let me save this really quick, okay? And I'll show you. On Mapmaker Monday, which is our stream title today, I don't mind showcasing cool maps from the workshop as well, as long as I get to save my map first. So you could search caves on our Steam Workshop repository. Our community has shared over 15,000 maps, but there's over 770 of them labeled with cave. Just cave in the title. If we type a spider warning for anyone, let's type spider cave. So anyone afraid of spiders, look away now. Hey, Eric, what up, dude? Glad you're here. But right off the bat, we've got one called Spider Caves, and I can see a spider in it. There's another one, Spider Cave, tons of Spider Cave options. I've seen all sorts of caves, though. Our cave biome is one of our coolest biomes, in my opinion. But you can make a cave and fill it with spider webs, make your own spider cave custom if you have one in mind. Or you can download one of the hundreds of examples of free maps available on the Steam Workshop to speed up the process. So Dungeon Alchemist is all about a combination of speed and quality. So you can either generate maps and rooms instantly, right? Or you can just download maps from the workshop and use those. Alternatively, you can spend time, roll up your sleeves and build maps by hand, like something like this with lots of little details. Let me show you another map from the workshop that is actually more like a real map. This one is one that was actually a winner of a map making contest we host every 2 weeks on our stream and in our Discord called the Dam Challenge. This is a multi-story map of just a small little kind of alley in a side alley in a town. So it's great for, an encounter or like a little, maybe someone's going to potentially, interact with someone in one of these buildings. You can get in at all different levels and take pictures with our drone camera or cinematic camera, as it's called. So you can get down at like the ground level and take pictures, which is really fun. You can go into any building you want because this camera has the ability to open doors. So you can just like explore, go from floor to floor. This is you as the creator of the map can do this, right? And then you can make videos or take pictures to give as like handouts to your players if you're a dungeon master or a game master. Alternatively, it's just fun to build maps in Dungeon Alchemist. You don't even have to be running a campaign to just enjoy building maps in it. I like to think of it as like Sims meets Baldur's Gate. You can just build cool maps, maybe make a story for them if you want. This was the most recent Dam Challenge just before our current one. It was called Hidden Place. So this merchant is like a merchant that just kind of randomly appears in the city. So you never know where he will appear. And he's got interesting wares. So this is just an interesting example of the kind of things you can do. Now you can jump between these levels with our this little widget up here in the top right corner, or you can use the plus and minus key. And each level has things in it. Hey, see you later, Sophie. You have a good one. That's awesome, Gray Lion. I'm glad you enjoy Dungeon Alchemist. Also, yeah, Tavern. GM Eric's pretty chill, pretty cool guy. You'll learn a lot from him watching his content and his streams. Definitely recommend, subbing, liking his videos. Give him some love. We usually pick a theme every 2 weeks, right? Our current theme is prison. We like to pick themes that help our community get access to maps that would be very helpful typically in a campaign, right? Anyway, a couple weeks prior to Hidden Place, our theme was Tower. So there's a lot of cool towers that got it shared on the workshop. Eric, dude, I am so hyped for the upcoming campaign session on Sunday. Very, very, very hyped. Alrighty, let's get back to my build and let me show you something really quick, actually. Who wants to see me generate a map really quick? Do you want to see me generate a map? Okay, Naomi, I'm going to let you pick what we do for a map. The only exclusions I'm going to say is let's avoid dark parchment and green screen because those are non-terrain backgrounds, usually intended to highlight interior spaces only. So if you want to see an environment generate, it's not going to do that. So I would recommend picking between Badlands and snow. So we have Badlands, caves, desert, Fey Plain, forest, grasslands, jungle, skeletal plains, and snow. And just a reminder, actually, we can generate a cave in any of these biomes. It's just the cave biome generates a whole cave system. Skeletal plains. So Fey is kind of like a whimsical, magical plane. Yeah, the Fey plane is the Fey realm, essentially. Skeletal plains is like a hellscape environment. Pretty cool. Let's generate one of those. Skeletal plains, cool. I just was going through answering your questions here. So we've got different options. In vegetation, all you have is bones, I'm afraid. That's all you got. And then elevation, you've got flat, hills, mountains, ravine, mesa, crater, cave system. So do you want to pick one of those for me? Ravine. Okay, as far as water is concerned, you can add like a river or a lake or a lakeside, island, lava lake, ice field, freezing river, or lava flow. I gotta say, the ice or lava particularly against the bones, is pretty metal. But yeah, the freezing river is pretty metal as well. Let's see here. So with that component in mind, if you're doing a freezing river, we could also add snow to the map, which puts a dusting of like a layer of snow on top of everything, but it'll kind of wash out the skeletons. So I'm going to generate it without it first, and then we'll add it after. I'll show you how to do that, okay? Because you want to see it. Does that sound fair? Okay, so I'm just going to generate it. This room placement thing's kind of redundant now, but back in the day, before we added the ability to raise and lower rooms before you generate them, like when you generate a new room, you can raise and lower its elevation. In the past, you couldn't do that. You had to pick its placement at the time of generating the map. So this is kind of like a redundant feature, although it just starts your placement at that level. So it's like all your homes will be at water level or a little bit higher than that by default. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, back in the day, making caves was really hard, actually, Atlam. Like, you essentially had to raise all the rock up and then carve it afterwards, because they wouldn't generate a cave and it didn't have solid rock to carve into, and the carving tools were really slow. So like, I was one of the first people to kind of figure that out, and I made huge maps and shared them, and then someone went in and made even larger maps and shared those on the workshop. But if you go back in our Discord far enough, there's maps of me sharing like just solid rock blocks so people could use them to carve caves. Because you'd have to spend like an hour raising all the terrain up to the max, which at the time was pretty high and took a long time because our terrain tools were really primitive back then. Now they're a lot faster. Yeah, it's a legacy feature. Yeah, you don't need to edit your damn files anymore, really, for any reason. For the most part, all those reasons you needed to, it's like redundant. And I wouldn't recommend it anyway. From a development standpoint, we can't support it if you do it. Like, we can't provide you with support or guidance. But almost any reason to do it is you can raise and lower objects on the Y-axis or the Z-axis if you disable collisions, right? So you have that. You can raise and lower buildings before you generate them. By this right here, you can even rotate them. And remember, you can make round and like diagonal structures by pulling in on the corners. So you have a whole lot of options here. I'm just going to make it a square again. Just kidding. Here, let's add a bridge. I'm going to go to the object menu and just type bridge to save time. So we could add one that's already collapsed, right? Or we could find one that's just kind of like a... And this is slatted and looks kind of a little off. We could raise it up, sink it in, kind of level it out. Plus you have terrain tools. So if I need to lower the terrain on one side, right? Or raise it on the other, or both. Oops, still lower. You get the idea. You can change the brush size, the brush strength. You have different brush types. So like one smooths it out. Hey Bremen, what up, dude? How you been? Let me add some spider webs. So I'm going to go to nature. We do have like a section for insects and arachnids, but I'm just going to let you know, if you go to the object brushes, there's actually a brush for painting spider webs, I believe, in here. Yeah. Cobwebs, deadly cobwebs. So we can hurry and paint a few on the map. And that will add like cocoons, little like eggs, and like bodies wrapped up as well in all the nests of webs. John, how you doing, bud? Welcome back. You can paint tons of objects. We have brushes pre-made for hundreds of objects, and then you can pick their type and scattering. So you can do like a circle of webs, or you can draw them in like a line. You can do all sorts of things, and you can adjust their size and density of the brush. And then there's even more advanced options than that. You can also take any object on the map and select it, right? And then turn that into a custom brush. So you can paint that if you want to. So you could place an object from the menu that doesn't have a brush or one from the workshop and make it a custom brush. Yep, it's very cool. John, I hope you have a wonderful day, my friend. Another thing that might make this map really cool is some lighting. So we can go into the lighting. Let's make it night. And we'll add a filter for either purple or blue, which really gives that kind of cold aesthetic, right? Additionally, I want to add some abstract lighting, which is environmental lighting that is not present in the export of the. It's not this light housing is not visible when you export the map or record or take screenshots of the map. It's only visible in the build. So it's essentially a hidden light. But I'm going to use this to kind of light up these cobwebs and make them a cool, like, blue color. And then I'll just show you what it looks like when they're hidden. So those, like, really pop now, right? Fog, yeah, let's add some fog. We've got effects here, so we can go in. There's cold fog. Put some down on the water. You can adjust the sizes. There's different types of fogs. Hey, how you doing, Ninja? What up, bro? Welcome back. How's things been? You know, I was just thinking about you yesterday because I was, regarding our conversation we recently had on Discord, I've added that to my list to talk with the devs about it, but no promises, my friend. Though it does seem interesting if we can make it work in a way, you know, conducive to what we can, you know, can provide. Hope you're well. Giuseppe, so Naomi, I'm going to be clear. This is a map making tool and an immersion utility, right? So you make maps in it that you then export for your play style of choice. So if you plan to use them for D&D or, you know, another tabletop system like Pathfinder or whatever, you would then export it for your play style of choice, whether it's to print the map or to take the digital file to a print shop and get them, you know, made up as like posters or mats. Alternatively, you can export it as a digital file and use it on like a tabletop surface, like a digital surface, like a projector or a TV tabletop. So you essentially can do like a looped video or an image that plays in those instances. Lastly, and the most popularly, is virtual tabletops. So I don't know if you're familiar with virtual tabletops, but they're essentially tools that allow you to play digitally or online, remotely, or even locally, with added support for like effects and math and rolling and rules and all these different things. Token management, inventory management, a lot of different things. So virtual tabletops like Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, Foundry, Above VTT, and many more are directly compatible with Dungeon Alchemist. So you would export your map, put it in one of those systems. If you use like a virtual tabletop, you can add Fog of War. Our maps, the maps generate, you know, it comes with all the environmental elements and stuff in the image. But if you add like a room to the environment, say we added a a building over here, right? If you generate a room with buildings on it, oops, I gotta raise this up because we're like way up higher. Those buildings, the windows, the doors, the lighting on the map, the walls, all of that contributes to what your players can see and their line of sight. So you will have a fog of war on the map by default, and as they explore and can see, oh, they get up to a building, they can peek into it or go into it and see inside. So yeah, you could run it through like a virtual tabletop like Foundry or Roll20, and our maps synergize with those systems and give you very seamless gameplay. Does that make sense? Giuseppe, I was actually answering someone else's question. I'm going to get right to you, okay? So we were actually going to add some snow to this map so we can talk about what you were discussing. So, Giuseppe, there's two types of snow in Dungeon Alchemist. There's snow weather and snow environment, or snow terrain. I'm going to add snow weather, which you can add to any environment, which our friend over on Twitch, Naomi Cat, wanted to see. So I'm going to just go into the terrain tab like I just did, go to change terrain type, and then I'm just going to change the weather tab to snow, which we will be adding other weather with time. Now, that added a light dusting of snow to the entire map. As you can still see, you can see some bones through the snow and some higher stacks. Really goes well with the frozen environment. Yeah, unfortunately with WebM on Fantasy Grounds, because WebM it's kind of an older format, but it's been updated over the years with new codecs. And Fantasy Grounds, when they adopted, animated maps, they opted to go with the VP8 codec, which is, I think, it's the older codec now because there's the VP9 codec, and I think eventually the VP10 will be coming out sooner than later. But there's a lot of difference in compression and quality between these codecs. So they take longer to render, they're a larger file size, things like that when they're the older codec. That said, WebM is a very versatile file, and the reason we chose it is because it can expand pretty much infinitely in resolution, whereas like MP4 has resolution limits. Oh, good to know, Atlam. I wasn't aware of why they chose that. So what do you think of the map we built, Naomi? Giuseppe, I'm going to help you out right now. So Giuseppe, when you generate an environment, let's say you're going for a snow-based environment, notice in Dungeon Alchemist there's all these terrains. There's one that's also just a snow environment, right? So you have, or terrain, sorry, I say biome or environment a lot because I feel like that's a more useful term in this instance. So you can add snow to any environment. We were actually in the Skeletal Plains terrain when we added snow to it. So a lot of people will go into the snow environment and then they'll have snow weather on. You don't have to do that. So I'm going to just generate a snow environment, okay? Really quickly. I'm going to have like a river, some trees. I'm going to make sure there's no weather. Yeah, when you generate a room, it depends on the room type there, Naomi. When you generate a room, sometimes they'll become populated with things. So I generated a wizard's little tower. We could go up another level, add another floor. So notice I'm in the snow environment, but there's not snow on everything. It's just like on the ground, okay? That's what I was trying to point out to you there, Giuseppe. You can paint the environment whatever you want. So there's two types of snow environments. Now, I don't know how much this will help you, but when you have the snow weather on, right? Snow will be pretty much on everything, like a light dusting, and there's no control over it. What it's on is what it's on. Some angles it has none, some angles it's covered entirely. And it's just the way it scatters and places it on objects to make it feel like it's covered, but also not fully. Hey, Jim. No worries. Do you have the, are you RSVP'd through the Discord? Because Twitch notifications are pretty slow, but the Discord one's pretty instant. So right now, with the snow weather on, it puts snow on pretty much everything, with the exception of a handful of objects. So there's really no way around it. And if the object isn't getting enough snow the way you want, it's unfortunately the only way to change it is to disable this weather in this tab. And then, you know, change the terrain, which won't change the environment. It'll just turn off the snow. In a future update, we have a feature coming out called the decal tool. Unfortunately, it won't be our next update, but hopefully shortly released after that in like a patch, anyway. Hopefully within the next 2 or 3 updates, that tool will be made available, and it'll allow you to paint images, i.e. decals on anything. It could be snow, blood, runes, cracks, webs, but the thing is you can paint them on floors, walls, objects. I mean, you can add blood now, but it'll make it much quicker and more controllable and where you want it. Does that make sense? So like adding blood now, there's a few ways to do it. We just try to avoid like excess gore because, you know, aside from blood rivers and ponds, because it would affect our rating. But there is an object set in the object menu called abstract objects. These you can place on the ground or walls or whatever. And these are customizable. You can insert images into them. So if you have, you know, you can find PNGs of like a blood puddle or something, and then place that in your map somewhere. But this is what I was going to suggest to you, Giuseppe, is use this tool here, right? This abstract tool. You could add a snow panel, like image type, right? So add an image that just looks like snow and put it on top of that pipe. Kind of cover it a little bit. Does that make sense? Yes, exactly. That's what I was getting at to you. Covering multiple questions simultaneously. We're getting a bunch of questions coming at essentially the same problem from different directions. So, one moment here. I think I might have some snow. Oh, you know what I do have? This is actually pretty cool for this map. Let me show you. Let me change one thing on this map and it'll be dope. Oops. This image created ages ago for ice fishing. Now we've got an igloo here. Add that. I see, Jim. I see. Well, anyway. But you can see how these image panels can be really useful. In fact, I was using it in my landing screen map, which we need to get back to. Let's finish that up, the landing page. So I have a new image to add here. So I'm going to do that, which it is, where is it? Did it download? Hold on, I don't know if this is the right one. Oh, this is likely it. Yes. Okay. So Mrs. Mac went through and put the little red dots on here and some like points of interest. Hey, cool, Naomi. If you have any questions, let me know. You have a wonderful day. And by the way, thank you for that follow. Sorry I missed that. Appreciate you very much. Okay, so this map back here is a map of the world in the campaign I'm in. This here is a bust of a dragon, which its shadow is biting over the region where we're at, which we live. I got to move that just the littlest bit, just the littlest bit. Let's see here. The shadow. Yeah, I'm going to move it. Though the home probably could be in another location. Uh-oh. Why are you doing that? That's why it's fighting me. It's trying to get onto a wall. I accidentally undid the map. Hey, see you later, Highland Lass. You have a lovely day. Okay, so we have yeah, for sure. Honestly, like I like to know if any of the notifications are working or not working. With Twitch, it can be up to your individual settings in both your app and your phone. Like if you have your phone set to not like to do not disturb mode, for instance, you won't get notifications for a lot of things. But in the Twitch app itself, they have notifications. On the Twitch website, they have notifications. So you may want to just double check that first. As far as like Facebook notifications and Discord, you definitely have to be signed in. And it's, you know, we don't do a whole lot of like blasting in our Discord with @here's or @everyone's. So realistically, you'd really only get like our event notifications twice a week, which I use those as a great indicator. They often are pretty regular. They go off with almost without fail. The only time they're problematic is around the time there's daylight savings. For some reason, the Discord system for like the calendar and notifications hates daylight savings. But yeah, I'm open to any and all feedback, in fact. Okay, back to this map. We've got here kind of where we started was in this place, Malajarak. Oh no. Can't see the name. Might need to uncover that. I'll go back to Mrs. Mac after this and get a couple things changed. But for the most part, it's pretty good. So we live in a bastion right near this city called Grindavik. And we also took out several things in our path. So we broke out of a prison. We took down a crime lord. On him was a note that was ciphered. We deciphered it, and it pointed us to a vast treasure. Well, a key to a vast treasure near Grindavik in a place called Carthax Hollow. That's where this is, the cave Carthax Hollow. We traveled across the seas for several months, fought some sea serpents. There be dragons here. And then we got to Grindavik, to our new bastion. Our next couple of, quests were like side quests, getting familiar with the region, getting familiar with the people, doing some shopping. And then we went into this cave for several sessions until we cleared out Carthax Hollow, with the exception of Carthax, because he rewarded us for getting that deep into it and didn't basically he was entertained by what we did. and thought if we went further, it'd probably benefit him. So he gave us the item that we sought, and then we left. And then we, kind of continued with some side quests and stuff till the whole group could meet up. And then we went into this area, researched it, went into it. It's called Vorthun's Maw. Everything we've done has led up to this point. The Maw, the note we got, coming to here, going into this place, getting the book that we got, which was called the Black Sigil. And that was a key to get into a gate within Vorthun's Maw, which was an underwater cave system that is essentially part of a wider complex of like volcano tubes. There's like a cave system after that's like got air and lava, and you can navigate it. So kind of got some like Atlantis vibes, but like think underwater cave where there's air pockets and you can explore and do other stuff. So underwater caldera cave system. It is nice, Jim. I've been kind of considering of like degrading my tech, mainly because like everything's been going up in prices. Everything has a subscription, everything needs to be connected to Wi-Fi, and everything has an app. Like I do not need an app for everything, right? It's insane. I've almost for the most part stopped using streaming services. I sign up to like one a month. I basically always, have my Amazon Prime, but I'm thinking of canceling that because I just heard the bad news about Stargate. Like I heard they're thinking of already canning it and going in a different direction because the executives thought that it would gear too much towards the existing fan base, which is the people you want watching the show, I'd imagine. They're all like, 40 to 60 and beyond, and then they've got kids who they're trying to get into it, and most of them are all flushed with cash. So it's like good time to get these people into the franchise, but they're going to just dump it because they want it to appeal to a different audience, I guess. Anyway, that's the rumor at the moment, and I'm just like furious about it. So the only way I can protest is cancel my Amazon Prime and my Audible, which I will be doing shortly. That said, back to the map. We got this bust of a dragon. We've got its shadow is kind of ominous over this region, and really the only lighted regions are areas we've kind of cleared out, kind of symbolizing that we're kind of a beacon of light here. Mighty, I'm not sure what you mean. We're not doing a large scale map here. This is actually just a lot of set pieces. This is a world map from my personal campaign that I'm in. And then we're making what's called a landing page using Dungeon Alchemist. But that said, I've seen maps that are like regional and world maps. Someone's built all of Faerun using Dungeon Alchemist, but that map is rather large. It's like 250 by 250. And they used kind of a perception trick called forced scale or like forced perspective. So there's a lot of objects that are shrunk down and put on top of, areas designed to look like regions. So it is possible to do like a world or a regional map, but it's not really its intention. So it's not super quick to do. This is also like this. We're making a landing page showing it's possible to make like a cool set piece or a diorama using Dungeon Alchemist. This isn't a traditional battle map or a town or a village. This is more just for fun to show what it can do. But I was kind of explaining the set pieces here as we were adjusting them and wrapping up the map. Speaking of wrapping up the map, I'd like to discuss what we're going to make next. So we're going to be jumping into a new theme for the rest of the stream, i.e. I'm going to wrap up this map, and then we're going to be making a new style of map. I'd love to get insight from the community on what you think I should make. Get suggestions before we wrap up here. But yeah, if you look at our build here, it's a really wonderful shot that has, you know, images of the players. It's got some documents, some set pieces that are important. This book here is the Black Sigil. Here is our Bastion. We've got like our deed. Here's images of the players. Here's the map of where we're at right now. All of these items kind of were carefully picked to represent each and everybody in the party and kind of give them a little bit of a tie-in to the table. I'm going to get in just the right position for this. But yeah, this is pretty good. I mean, it'd be fun, but most of the things, like, I would love to rebuild the Bob's Burgers map, but I can't do that on this stream. That'd be a personal build. I don't know. Would be kind of fun to rebuild, like, or to build a tavern, just exclusively a tavern. Because, like, the map before this had a tavern in it, a little tavern, right? Like a rest stop tavern, but I loved building that part of it and wanted to expand upon it. I don't know. But yeah, honestly, you can, like, if you want to see more examples of landing pages, they're really easy to search on our workshop. Just search landing page or landing screen. You'll find dozens of examples. This is just one of the more recent ones. A lot of people tend to use, you know, essentially this kind of basic design. I like it, though. Let me save it. I do need a slight adjustment with this graphic. Need to get rid of this little dot there covering Malaja Rock so you can see the name. And we need this dot to kind of just turn up into Grindavik. Whoop. Maybe go. Whoop. Anyway, I guess it's good enough. It's good enough on this side, but that one I want to be able to see the name. I love all these little points of interest. Let me look at my legacy maps. That I have uploaded. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I'm ready to take on the damn challenge gallery again quite yet. More or less, I want to wait until we have the ability to customize a lot more stuff with text manually here in Dungeon Alchemist instead of having to use graphics for everything. Because I have to lean on Mrs. Mac like a lot when I do that. I do want to rebuild the Wizard's Tower because I built it all by hand, and I could probably build it a lot faster now that we have multi-level. We could also do some underground levels, which we did in this, but we had to kind of, you know, finagle it to get it to work. I've got a few taverns that I'd love to rebuild. Always love to rebuild a tavern. An ice palace would be fun to build because this one doesn't have like a roof. And now we have roofing, ceilings, stuff like that. So could be fun. Oh. Open to community suggestions for maps. Let me know what you would like me to create. So many things I'd be open to just whatever. You know, oh, you know, kind of want to remake the Snemple too, because we have tracing. So I could just find a really cool like helix and trace that with a cave so it'd look a lot better. There's so many things that have been added since I addressed some of these maps that they could just be so much better. A ninja dojo? Interesting. You know, we don't have a whole lot of cultural assets that are kind of like Asian cultural assets for the most part. And we try to avoid them per se as like a stock asset, because there tends to be all sorts of concerns around, you know, addressing it, you know, appropriately and respectively. And when we don't have people on the team that know that stuff, it's kind of hard to do. That said, we do have some stuff on the workshop to supplement that I've seen people use to a very successful degree, mixed and matched with some of the themes in Dungeon Alchemist. Though I would be open to a ninja dojo. Okay. You know what, Chim? Yeah, you're right. It's been a while since I've done... Let's see. Let's look at my last few maps. Yeah, you know, I might want to do a tower. I guess I could do the wizard tower. Probably only take me a couple of weeks. Wait, what? Where's the last drop? Am I blind? I don't see it in here. I swear I uploaded it. Huh. That's weird. It's really weird. Okay, so here's some things I'm wanting to add to this list. A tavern is something I'm interested in building, okay? We could also try building a western town because we get asked about it a lot. And now that we have multi-level, I can even try addressing like facades, like the fake like front of the houses with to some degree. And we could do multi-level there and like have cellars and whatever. We could also address a rebuild of, say, I mean, any of these maps. If any of you are interested in them and want to see a remake, the exclusions would have to be pop culture related, because I just can't do those on the stream. We just don't own the rights to Bob's Burgers. Or a licensing. So I could do a western town, put a tavern in the town, and have multi-level. The dojo's a pretty sweet suggestion, though, Eric. I'm gonna have to look and probably re-upload the last drop because I could have sworn I uploaded it, but it's possible it failed. It sometimes happens. I've had them fail. I've also had them just suspended in like limbo and have to be re-uploaded, even though they show visible on my end. They're never visible on the workshop to anyone else. So yeah, we'll have to fix that. Hey, DMs of the audience. Are any of you susceptible to player bribes? Could be. I'll try again later after the stream because I don't want to waste time uploading it on stream. If anything, I want to get this next theme locked down and start on it. Back when we played in person, a good snack went a long way. So a snack is a good bribe, huh? For a DM. I wonder how I could bribe a DM who I don't play with in person, though. That's also something we should discuss. For no DM in particular. Hey, man, I have this Steam key. Send a big check. Shifting gears really quick. Oh, a massive fungi forest. That's a good suggestion, actually. We haven't done much in the Feywild biome, but I could also do it as like kind of a swampy looking biome and just use mushrooms. So it looks more like a normal like world with a mushroom forest kind of vibe, right? Moose, you crack me up. So I could either do it like a Fey mushroom forest, which is kind of the more traditional, everyone kind of goes that angle. But I also love the idea of like, just like, this is oversized mycelium in a normal, like a green biome where it is overtaken everything. And pretty much the only green is on the ground or the water. Either or, I'm open to it. That's a great suggestion, Tina. I like it. Let's keep those suggestions rolling. Is anyone familiar with the book Dungeon Crawler Carl? Spores would be fun. I can do spores. We could do that with effects. Though it'd likely be one of the final things I add to the map because I usually do lighting and effects last. I have an order of operations. So what I usually do is I'll kind of map out my map, like its size, you know, where everything will be on it. Like, oh, this is where this building will be. This is where the roads will be. Once I kind of have that, then I start decorating each level, right? And I go through one level at a time, decorate them all. Then lastly, I go through and add lighting and effects. I do this because lighting and effects are very taxing on most graphics cards. Doing that last means you have the most frames while you're building. If you add lighting and effects as you go, you'll be eating away at your processing power, your frame rate. Typically what I'll do when I'm almost done with a large map that needs lighting and effects all throughout it, like abstract lighting and effects, or animated objects too. I'll save the map and then do a save as to divert off with just the effects only in a separate map. So I have one without effects and one with. Oh, yeah, the cat is pretty funny. Corpse Milk. He's a pretty funny character. Or she, I mean. Cat's name is Princess Donut. So Dungeon Crawler Carl is like a cross between sort of like concepts like alien, game shows where like it's like a massive scale game show. Another show I've seen a similar concept was like Future Man. They have like a massive game show that's like on a galactic scale, right? Anyway, imagine a dungeon crawl with like kind of D&D fantasy elements where you level up and gain skills and get loot that gives you powers and makes you crazy powerful and strong. But also it is like a dungeon and it's dangerous and you can die. If you die, you're dead. I don't want to like spoil a whole lot, but it's a pretty interesting story so far. It kind of caught me off guard. Little weird at times. It's a little lewd story sometimes unnecessarily so. But I think they're trying to point out like how like gross this like super like tuned in and like I don't know, society that is all about watching like blood and gore and buying things. And I don't know, maybe it's allegory, possibly. I don't know. Don't want to get into it too much. That said, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who might like, not have read it or heard of it. So check it out. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, Chim gets it. It's what the audience wants in a lot of cases. Some things that crack me up about it is there's like these announcer voices in the that they talk about in the book, and I always imagine the announcer voices like in kind of like shows that are similar to it, like Running Man, or in what's the Smash TV, or like anyway, or like The Culling. There's that video game a few years ago, The Culling. It was like a kind of like PUBG or Apex. It was like a battle royale type game, but it was first person and far less people. I think it was only like 24 people, but there was like an announcer talking the whole time, saying stuff every time you did things and killed somebody. It just seems kind of grotesque reading it, but at the same time, it's really funny when they talk about like the achievements they get and like the items they unlock. There's like this whole fanfare about like getting loot boxes and achievements, which it seems like a lot like video games nowadays, and different movies and television and stuff like that. Anyway. Trust me, it's something I fight with all the time, but at the end of the day, I got to realize that I'm just showing off a map making tool. My audience isn't going to be like Critical Role. We're not doing a compelling story here with production value. We're teaching you how to make maps. We're just trying to help you up your production value. Jim, check it out. You'd probably like it. I bet you would. There's like 8 books too. Like 8 or 9 books. I don't know how many. So there's quite a bit to get into. I don't know. It's like essentially Carl and his cat get isekai'd or whatever they say in like anime into like this whole dystopian video game world that's actually real. And I mean, it's as real as it can be to him, you know? And it's crazy the more you learn about it and then kind of unfolds in front of you. I just finished the first book. I'm really excited with that. Anyway, it's an interesting book. At first I got it because I thought, oh, Dungeon Crawler Carl, probably a D&D thing. Does have some D&D inspiration, like there's spells and things like there's a spell called Magic Missile and they fight goblins and other things, but they're not necessarily the same in this instance. And I wouldn't go as far as saying they're in a simulation, but they are. It's more like a Truman Show simulation than anything. Meaning it's real to everyone inside the simulation, but everyone outside is watching it like a show. Anyway, so what are our suggestions so far for our themes? You'll join my book club? Nice. Oh my gosh, dude, I was one of those people who just loved Last Action Hero as a kid. I enjoyed it, the campy nature and the fourth wall breaking stuff in it. I think for a lot of audiences at the time, that was hard to grasp. Like, also Arnold was just so funny in it. I haven't read Ready Player One. I really want to. It's on my reading list. I'll definitely get it in some point and read it. I've only watched the movie, which I understand is very, very kind of stripped down, shelled version of the book. As are most movies. Movies tend to be, you know, a very stripped down version, hollow version of the books. It's almost like they're another medium entirely. Eric, I definitely want to get into it for sure. So, Eric, do you need a ninja dojo for one of your campaigns? That's the real question. I gotta ask you. That's really cool. I'd say that Dungeon Crawler Carl is kind of it's just barely getting to the apex point of where it's getting popular. Like, I've seen videos of the dude, like the author, go read like to live audiences and stuff. So I just worry that if I made one, it'd be like too many tropes or whatever, or it'd be a disrespectful take because it'd be based on what I know from like pop culture, not from actual culture. So I've never been to Japan or like into like a dojo other than the ones in America, which are sometimes off the wall. I'm not gonna lie. By the way, while we're still working on this map, does anyone have any ideas, thoughts, suggestions, additions to it? Eric, do you see the little Indiana Jones travel line? Got points of interest. Got to fix this little dot there. But you come over here, you got the sea serpents. There be serpents here. And of course, the shadow of the tyrant over the whole region. You're one of the few people here who might understand most of the content on it, so. When I finish this up and get it all published, I'll send you an image of it. So if you want to use it as like our kind of start screen, you're more than welcome to, but you don't have to. Though I do think the party would enjoy it. Eric, I don't know if you heard earlier, I was asking the DMs roundtable discussion here. What people think is an ideal bribe for a DM when you're trying to get in their good graces. Apocalypse Pal. I'm assuming that is some Latin. Twizzlers. Okay, have you ever been bribed as a DM, and what's a good bribe for a DM when you're trying to get in their good graces? I'm sure I could just look it up. Something with dragons, I imagine. Here be dragons, probably. Yep, you're right. You're right there. Well, maybe, I don't know. Sounds like that. Yep, you're right. That is what it is. Here be dragons. I'm surprised I didn't get it. I didn't, take Latin ever, because I kind of figured, hey, everyone says it's a dead language, so. Atlam got it. I just read what Atlam said. A 3D printed dice tower? That's a good idea. For you, it's Reese's peanut butter cups followed closely by some good fudge. Huh. What if it was a tray of homemade Reese's peanut butter treats? Well, homemade Mac and Fam peanut butter treats. That said, I don't know how well it would hold shipping this time of year to Texas from Vegas. It'd probably have to be on ice and be like overnighted to get there safely. Peanut butter cups, huh? We'll have to discuss. Snacks! Snacks! Just joking, all jokes aside, Eric. But, you know. Yeah, it'd be destroyed by the time it got there. This time of year, particularly, you got to be strategic when you ship food between these two locations. It's got to be essentially in the winter months, or there's no chance. Online bribing. What would an NPC be? You bribe the NPC in game? Just some really good RP. You come up with an NPC art, NPC 3D art. That said, we'll talk later. All jokes aside, really fun. This map should be uploaded soon. Oh, hey, Doesn't this kind of look like the lady in red just a little bit? Couldn't find one with inward spikes, but I figured the handle and this, like the blade, it had spikes, and then the blade looks really similar to what you had represented in the image. No reason in particular. I know a guy who just needs to bribe his DM for reasons. He carelessly used an item's charges and needs to recharge it before a massive encounter. And he's hoping there is a way to make a long rest happen. It's definitely not me. I know all his details because he's a really close friend of a friend. Okay. So I'm thinking map-wise, I like y'all's suggestions. And listen, the charges were used to help team members from being critted. So I feel like they were used in the best way possible. Like, if we don't survive to the encounter, then what's the point? But I'm always really selfless, I feel like, with my spell slots and items. I'm constantly donating my abilities to the party to keep them from getting hit and critted. Like, oh my gosh, I cast Silvery Barb so much. So much. And I can't count how many times I've saved party members after they've done something silly. Here's hoping. No worries, Eric. I'm just joking. Honestly, it would be cool, but it doesn't matter. We're fine. We're going to survive. We're going to thrive. So, that suggestion list, Atlam, can you copy it and just send it to me in a DM so I have it somewhere I can just look at it without having to scroll through chat? Because I want to get started on that map. I think what I'll probably do is, leading into Chim's suggestion, take one of these old maps and update it with new features. We'll give it a 2.0 with some multi-level. I see you later, Eric. You know what? Let's do the Western Town one, because I can revisit this, rebuild it, do multi-level, do like a single street Western Town. Okay? I don't even need a trace for this. I can just rebuild it. We're going to go to the desert. Now let's do Badlands. That'll fit better. Though I did just do the last drop and that kind of had a similar vibe, but no, this will be distinctly different. I don't know. I'm having second thoughts. Me? Second thoughts? The Ice Palace also sounds fun. Making a tavern sounds fun. The wizard tower would be so dope if it was rebuilt. The only problem is our native roofing is not conducive to like doing like a cool like observatory. And just recently Sack built one that made it work. I think he just kind of did like a balcony with it where there wasn't like any roofing, or it was like an arch poking out. So I don't really want to step on his toes and steal his thunder. So I think I'm going to stray away from that. I think I'll come back to the wizard tower eventually. Huh. A swamp map would be fun. So indecisive today. Not normally like me. Usually I just am like, take charge, pick a path, go with it. Yeah, multi-level ice palace would actually be good for a lot of reasons because it benefits our community. There's not a whole lot of ice palace maps or ice castles or anything like that, so I'm of the mind that that would probably be good. I'm going to make sure we have no weather on so I can build without the snow on top of everything and kind of pick how it looks. I think I'm going to go 60 by 60 just to start. And then I do like it being up on a mountain, so I'm going to start with mountains and room placement at mountain top. So we have it like by default really high. If I add water, it'll be manually. Okay, let's generate this. Oh, this looks like a beautiful place for an ice palace. What do you think? Okay, so I'm thinking this spot right here, it's like really majestic. Right here in the center is a good spot for that ice palace, okay? So what I'm thinking is I'm going to kind of see where a building generates at its height. I just want to see how high it is by default. Brilliant. That's a good height, and we can raise up above that and terrace it. Okay, so is the ice palace sort of like just a palace itself, or is it kind of guarded with a wall? We need to think of the overall layout, right? I kind of like the idea of it being sort of like a fortress. Typically, ice palaces are like, you got an ice queen or an ice king. They're usually seen as like the menace or the villain, and they're usually well guarded in their fortress of solitude. Okay. I think one of the only exceptions is like Superman's fortress, which is literally called the Fortress of Solitude. And he keeps everyone out because the key is the only thing he can lift, or it's only something he can lift. I think it essentially takes someone with superhuman strength to get into the place. So I don't know. I kind of want the idea. I like the idea of it being a big ice castle in the middle of the forest, surrounded like on a big hill with big, huge, ominous walls kind of glaring down on everything. Though I am open to suggestion and ideas. So we've got the Ice Palace room type. I'm going to generate it without objects. That way it'll just be a blank floor plan. Windows and doors don't bother me so much. I can just change those later. So let's go into the terrain tools. We're going to kind of just raise this up. A frozen over palace, huh? So it's just a palace that maybe has broken down in the middle of the woods in a snowy, icy region. But okay, that's a different interpretation of Ice Palace for sure. Notice this is the max area the terrain can go up. So if I want it to be at a high point, this is where the high point will be. Though, Rev, I do have a lot more options for like stonework and walls. If I just build a regular palace that's kind of being overtaken by ice, or in the forest of ice. You know what I mean? I'm sure you get it. So it's either been like, it could be kind of like it's cursed by ice. Like ice has overtaken it because of like an ancient battle, or maybe a warlock or witch cast a curse on it to overtake it with ice and freeze the lands, make them barren. Martigan! Dang. That sounds cool, but also terrifying. A lot of drunk people around horses seems like it doesn't mix well. I just fear for the horses. But very cool regardless. Hmm. So I'm going to make this be our city walls. I'll show you what it looks like in a moment. Or the, not city walls, but the, you know, walls around the palace. Not that it matters that I do this, but oops. We're going to put essentially a floor above this and just keep extending these walls up. What we need here what is going on here? Ah, I see what's happening. I'm gonna make this just one solid piece so it's like all the same walls. Though it doesn't seem to be cooperating at all. Great. I don't know what I did. I'm really not feeling well today. I think I slept a grand total of 2 hours last night, so bear with me. I'm gonna make a little kind of a ice palace up here. Welcome to the stream, Ahmad. How you doing? So right now I'm building some walls, right? These will be just like 10-foot thick walls that act as like the fortress, or like kind of a, you know, just a barrier between it and the palace. These are hollow right now, but trust me when I say that thematically they will be solid. We need to put like a little barricade here, though. You just finished playing Baldur's Gate 3? Nice, very cool. I always say Dungeon Alchemist is basically like Sims meets Baldur's Gate. Our team has actually met with some of the Larian dev team, and they played with Dungeon Alchemist, and they invited our team to come kind of hang out with them, check out their headquarters and stuff. Pretty cool. I didn't get to go. I'm really jealous, but still cool nonetheless, you know? Okay, I'm going to try something else really quick. I want to change one thing about this wall. I'm going to change the wall to be a little bit different. Dang it, I hoped the shape would still be present. Okay. I'm going to sink this down just the littlest bit. So it's down on the side of this. Like I said, I wanted the wall to be kind of a commanding presence up the side. Yeah, this stream is set up for horizontal viewing. Unfortunately, like when I try to stream vertically, sometimes it has lots of issues on TikTok. So because we're multi-streaming on like 6 different platforms, it's just better to kind of go this route where they all stream horizontally. Sorry for the inconvenience. What happened? I'll put little towers on the side here. A little tricky to do, so forgive me. Yep. I'm just gonna get rid of these. Why did it get rid of the inner wall? Huh. It's okay. There it is. It's fantastic. That is so ridiculously hard to do. Why not? Let's get rid of all of them right around there. Let's just do it. Yeah, I give up on that. I'll just round that corner out and we'll put something in there. One of my biggest projects, personal projects, I've done maps up to like 100 by 100, but I've seen people do maps up to like 250 by 250, and then they used forced perspective on top of that to make it an entire region. Like I've seen the entire region of Faerun done in Dungeon Alchemist. Ugh. That's pretty cool. Looks very cool. Ah, I see what I did. That's not too bad. We can keep going up here too. So what I'm going to do is replicate this structure on each side. Yeah, Ahmad, I mean, the thing about Dungeon Alchemist is, keep in mind it's a real-time 3D render engine. So it renders everything you're doing in real time. All the objects, all the lighting, all the effects, and everything that's visible is rendering in real time. So the further you're zoomed out or the more you have visible on your screen, the harder it is on your computer, right? So what you want to do first off is kind of find that sweet zone for your computer, because the size of map you can make is directly correlated to how powerful your computer is, the specs of your machine. So you kind of want to play around and see where that sweet spot is, but I wouldn't expect crisp frame rates like you do in a video game. Because in a video game, they pre-render the environment and then give you that environment as a pre-rendered kind of skin that you navigate through. Whereas Dungeon Alchemist, little bit different. You know what I mean? Because it's more like running Fusion 3D or Blender than it is like running a video game. On a window here. Why is this other? Hold on one moment. Oh no. Wow. So, Sage, there is some things to consider with that, right? So, Dungeon Alchemist's camera is centered, right? In the center of a map when you do an export, okay? So the larger the map is, and the further you do things away from the center of the map, the more askew some of those 3D perspective images can become, and they don't line up perfectly with your walls. I'm assuming that's the issue you're having, right? If that is the case, a couple ways to address it. Not every map has to be a massive map. You can keep them to smaller, more bite-sized maps, ideal for VTTs, and their restrictions in file size and resolution. Exporting everything at a higher bit rate is also problematic with virtual tabletops. Foundry, for example, they recommend sticking to around 60 to 100 bit rate for your maps and videos, for your images and videos, because that is optimal in both file size and it keeps the usually keeps the resolution under their resolution limit. Exporting at 300 by 300, you're bound to run into a map that you'll upload and will just be blank for yourself and your players, because there is just not, they have a resolution ceiling that you're going to hit. So another thing with 300 by 300 DP or 300 DPI is your map's size, file size is going to be much larger, meaning the load times will be significantly larger. So while at a glance, it may look a little fuzzy to you, the map creator, getting to see it in God mode in Ultra while you build it, To your players, usually 72 to 150 DPI, they won't notice the difference. And I can tell you from experience as both a DM and a player, and from all the many DMs I talk to all the time here, your players are more often than not interested in kicking goblin butt and collecting loot than they are to nitpick about the details of your map and be like, wow, that looks really blurry. I'm going to not play because this game of make-believe is no longer believable. So in most cases, they usually brush past all the extra detail you put in and don't notice those things. We even had a DM one time accidentally leave a couch in the middle of the hallway. Players didn't even notice it or comment on it. So we kind of joke about that. That's not to say your players won't, and every group is different. But what I would like to point out is that usually exporting at lower DPIs, keeping the map at a bite size, less than say 100 by 100, I say between 30 and 60 is usually the sweet spot for most maps. Beyond that, it's a massive sandbox that you're actually creating for them to explore and can take hours and hours or multiple sessions to explore, which is fine. But that could also be broken up into multiple maps, i.e. scenes, which makes it easier for you to load. You got to think of your production value too. How quick do things load? Do you have a player running on a potato machine or like low tier internet, maybe throttled internet or internet that has a limited data plan? All of these things are things you got to take into account. If all your players are using amazing gamer streamer tier PCs that they built in the last couple of years, they've got amazing unlimited internet that is like fiber, then you probably don't need to worry about all that. But at the end of the day, you probably have one weak link in your chain, and you want to make sure that no matter what, your gameplay production runs at a fair level for all of them so they all get to enjoy it. So what I can recommend is reducing DPI, keeping your map size smaller. There are some tricks though to kind of focus the map if you already have one that's built that's larger. Let's say you take an existing map, right? So let's say I wanted this one to have more of a focus on the center of the map. You can take and add a border to the map and do this with a special room type called a pit. This was kind of discovered by one of our very prolific creators. If you take like a bottomless pit after you've extended the map, right? So you would extend the map just a little bit, or you could just take the bottomless pit room type and just draw it out, say 10 on each side. I'm gonna go 10 here. This takes a minute just because we're expanding the map. But what this does is it puts a blank border around your map that's just kind of useless space, but that brings the center of the map more into focus again, because it brings all of those walls that were near the edge and kind of getting fisheyed to focus in the center. It's a silly tactic. What did I do? Got lost here. Oh no, I might have overextended myself there. It's okay. You're going to get the idea from this one way or another. So now I've made this whole thing. This is going to take a moment to generate, and it probably won't work on this map because I've raised the room type by default. So this is just kind of just showing you how it's done. Sure, Lublican, drop it. You got the hive mind at your disposal. The damn fam. Ahmed, right? It's so accurate. No worries. By the way, if you have any questions while you're here, Ahmad, let me know. But we're live stream on multiple platforms. We're live on Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Steam. So if I'm talking to other people, that's why. But this is a great trick to kind of expand the border of your map and bring the center of it into focus. It takes a moment because you're expanding the map exponentially and adding a room to it at the same time. We'll also have to go in and clear out these trees because it didn't do it. But when you put it up into that top perspective, especially when you look in like the export or a tracing mode, man, I should have waited to do that. Now, everything that was like, if you had buildings over here, they were on the edge. Now they're more in the center, and it lines that stuff back up again. Sage, does that make sense at all? This is a very quick, dirty explanation with the map I'm already on. It's not really intended for this purpose, but it will solve that problem. At this point, if there were any objects beyond this border, we'd have to erase them, but it does not look like it's going to let me. Try, though. Yes. Haha. Just going to use the object brush to wipe this edge. But once this barrier is here, especially if you have a map that's already made, I'm not going to tell you, hey, man, trash it. You know, you got a 60 by 60, 100 by 100 map you put 24 hours into. Sorry, man, you're SOL. This is just kind of a Band-Aid. It works, though. It works really well. One of our most prolific map makers and asset sharers on the workshop and in our community, his name is Sack. He came up with this strategy, and it works really well. The other strategy is if you have a large map that's already made, remember, you can always cut it down. Just like I've added to the map, you could shrink it down into smaller maps. One moment here. That's the other thing too. If you want something to pop more, abstract lighting or effects is a great way to make it pop. One moment here. Let me save this because I know I haven't yet. I don't want to lose my work. Got to make a new folder. Ice Palace. I've been not practicing what I preach, which is always be saving. ABS. You got your ABCs. Always be saving. Hey, Michael, how you doing? Okay, so we have this map saved. I'm going to save it again just to make sure. We're going to go into another map that I want to just, let's say, shrink down. Let's say I have a map already and I'm trying to load it in and I'm not getting a whole lot of details because it's so big, right? Let's just grab one of mine as an example that I already have ready to roll. Here, this one is a good one. Let's say we got this little town and I want to shrink it down to a smaller map so it's easier to load for my players, or smaller file size or less resolution. By the way, Sage, you could probably get away with 150 DPI in most everything. I'm going to show you a couple tricks to help bring attention to some things, though. Team, can we read Lovelikin's message in Twitch and get some suggestions to their problem? We need some DM, GM feedback, please. By the way, if we're not live and you need help from other DMs and GMs, you can always drop into our Discord and go to the GM chat channel where you can ask DMs and GMs who have, you know, between the millennia's worth of experience in our Discord, ideas about stat blocks, encounters, homebrew, maps, etc. Okay, so first off, let's say I wanted to shrink this map down and get rid of some stuff so it's smaller and more digestible. Or I want to cut it into multiple parts because it's too large. That's the main reason people do this. Let's say I wanted to parcel this map up and get rid of a couple spots, right? So let's say I just grabbed this corner, which is there's these little things in the corner. Kind of hard to see because this tree is in the way, but there's these chevrons, okay? You can grab this, and if you start shrinking it in, that'll reduce the size of the map to where you are dragging to. Say you wanted to get rid of this outer edge of the town, you could do that. Once you let go, it'll delete it. Then you could file save as, make that a new portion of the map. People will do this to break a large map into like 4 quadrants or into 6 or 8 smaller parts, so it's easier for their players to load after they've already built it and didn't realize. Okay, now, this is one way to shrink a map down and bring attention to more localized parts. If you want to bring attention to other things in the map, you have several different tools. You have the abstract lights, which are under this panel. If you go into this tab here, you can add lights to the map to bring attention to certain points of interest, or to add extra lighting where the lighting that is existing isn't working well enough for you. These lights, they are visible for you as the DM while you're building, but when you export, they're invisible. Only the light they cast, they shed, remains. So you can add lights like these, adjust their brightness, change their color. So let's say you have a point of interest light color that you use for everything, like a purple or a gold, and you could put it on the item you really want to draw attention to. Another thing too is we have effects in here, which are a great way to draw attention to things. So you could do like some will-o-wisps around something, or fireflies. Just make sure you make it kind of small. The fireflies are a great way. That's like video game draw attention to item. Like you have a sword or a point of interest, an item you want them to grab or something, you know? Hey, Chaz. It's Total Chaz. Welcome to the stream, Chaz. How you doing today? Sage, does that help you at all in your needs? Let me add another abstract light to this. So at the end of the day, this light will be invisible, but it'll draw a lot of attention to it. There's also a spotlight. The spotlight's even brighter because it's like a pointed focus. Remember, you can change these lights to be different colors and brightness. Oh, nice, Chaz. Which stream was it? I love to lurk and drop into other streams, say hello, check out people's maps. But when you export the map, these light sources aren't visible, just the light they create. So that might work as well to bring attention to things. That one's a little extra bright now. Abstract light is a great way to make shadows. Like here, I was working on a map earlier today, and shadows are pretty fun in Dungeon Alchemist because you have 3D to contend with, which gives you pretty much like living shadows. Like here, I actually put this dragon bust up top as part of this landing page I'm making for the campaign I'm in. We were working on this earlier on the stream and just wrapped it up. I'm going to be uploading this to the workshop for everyone to kind of check out. But this is for my personal campaign where I'm a player. But I wanted that dragon bust to kind of be biting around the region we're in right here. So if you look right here very closely, we live here in Grindavik. This is our bastion kind of nearby. And then this is a cave we went into and took out like a boss and got this book called the Black Sigil, which is the key in the dungeon we're currently in called Vorthun's Maw. And that maw the big bad. We've gotten a bunch of research and learned that it's a dragon whose nickname is the Abyssal Tyrant or Vorthun, and we are pretty sure it's a bronze dragon, like an adult bronze dragon, or maybe an ancient bronze dragon. We're not 100% certain. It could also be a blue dragon, but we're in a like water meets lava meets caves lair, so it could be any number of like dragons that might use that as a lair. But there were two young brass dragons guarding the entrance, so we're thinking that that's kind of the main clue. So brass dragons will use like coastal caves or cliffs, right? But this is a coastal cave system that's made out of a volcano, a caldera. So there's lava tubes and lava. Tina, that's a great suggestion. So yeah, I know some of the crystals like have a glowing feature to them, but they don't actually emit light. Like this one here kind of glows, but you could put an abstract light in it and it makes it more of a powerful light. That's actually a really good idea with this map. I'm going to do that with a couple of things, couple suggestions. I'm going to put an abstract light inside of this lightning bottle, but I'm going to make it kind of like a blue, make it smaller. It puts off a little bit of light, but not a ton, right? I'm going to put another abstract light in with the crystal. So if you have any glowing mushrooms, you could do that, or crystals, or anything you want to draw attention to. By the way, if you want to just insert plain old images into your maps, you said you used Dungeon Draft before, right? Sage? Nice. That's a good tool set, man. That's a great tool set. Like, the thing I say as often is like all these different map makers, I don't see them as competition. I see them as complementary. They all kind of do have their own niche and their own kind of specialty. Canvas of Kings love their style, love the simplicity and quickness. Okay. Dungeon Draft, they're like the trailblazers, right? They have such an amazing tool, a very vibrant community, and because everything is images, you have support almost endlessly as long as you can either make graphics or source them. That huge repository, a website they have with like thousands, hundreds of thousands of images, great. So if you can use Photoshop, I mean, essentially your graphic design, you know, you can pretty much add any asset you want into Dungeon Draft. But guess what? You can also do that in Dungeon Alchemist. Because those assets can be placed, images can be placed in Dungeon Alchemist in all sorts of places, including like parchments, or notes, documents. You know, so I placed these custom images of documents in all of these different things, right? This wanted poster, this map at the background. In addition to all that, like there's tons of objects that you can put assets into, but there's a subset of objects called abstracts. These are like blank slates, green screen. You can change their color, right? If you want to just use that as a blank, or you can insert an image into it. This is very cool for a lot of reasons. So people have used these to make like magic circles, or, you know, to add like a blood splatter, footprints, stuff like that. Sage, if you have a huge repository of images already, you could definitely use them in this instance. If you click this tab here on any of the abstracts, it'll take you to our website and shows you all the templates for each of these objects. All of them are exactly the same size image, 1024 by 1024. But what is important is this kind of green area. That's the safe space of the image. What is shown, what's visible. This is great information for anyone watching. But this is cool if you have like a whole repository of images you can insert into this at will. So everyone, we're about to wrap up the stream. I want to make sure we answered all questions. If anyone has any questions, concerns, feedback, suggestions, you want to know how our development of our next update's going, you want to know what our plans are for the future are, maybe you need support right now with a map you're working on or trying to export, that's what I'm here for. Let me know in chat. We'll try to address it for the next few minutes, and then we'll wrap up the stream. We now have our next map figured out for next Mapmaker Monday, and I've already started on kind of the foundations of it, which is an ice palace. We'll be diving into that next week, full throttle. Really appreciate everyone tuning in the last 2-3 weeks as we worked on this landing page. I know it's kind of thematic to my campaign, so it doesn't really have a lot of, use to people outside of my campaign or storyline, but I appreciate you following along and learning, and many of you have followed along with the story of my campaign as I've been sharing my secondhand accounts on stream after each session. So for instance, next Monday, we will be discussing the campaign, which was on Sunday. We only get together once a month typically, so this is our session for June. Guess what? This next month, July, we're going to have 2 sessions. Hoping that'll get all squared away. We can get all the dates lined up. It'll be a lot of fun. So we'll have 2 story times next month of D&D sessions. Anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in, listening to my storytelling, hanging out, discussing maps. The stream went pretty fast today. Yeah, it did. Oh, that went dark pretty fast. Oh, is it what the suggestions are for all the DMs? They tend to go to their dark place quite often. I wasn't fully paying attention. I missed some of it. Chaz, that's a good question. Typically, we tend not to raid anyone unless they're streaming Dungeon Alchemist right now. I'll check and see if anyone is. Yeah, there is one person. Okay. So it's Zex, ZEXIEX. They are a kind of like a PNG tuber, VR tuber. So they are streaming Dungeon Alchemist right now, but I will be wary, and like a little bit of a warning. Okay. His like PNG thing, I'm sure some of you will think it's hilarious. Some people might be like, what the heck am I looking at? It's just a fair warning. You're not going to be in the same family friendly environment you are with my stream. Does that make sense? So if I'm rating this person and you're going to another Dungeon Alchemist channel, which I've watched their stream a few times, they're usually pretty chill, but just be wary. It's not the same vibe. It will be Dungeon Alchemist, but completely different ride altogether. Does that make sense? Just want to warn people here, or if we have any people, younger. They are very cool. They're very chill. I enjoy their stream. They're really good at map making. But just like a warning, their stream is set to 18 plus. Okay. So I'm going to raid them. Okay. Y'all have an amazing stream. We're going to really quickly just wrap up our stream on this end with a quick ad and a goodbye. Now it's time for so long. Doop doop. And we'll sing just one more song. I'm just kidding. Thank you everyone for hanging out. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager of Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is available on Steam. We also have a free demo, so you can try Dungeon Alchemist before you buy. Remember, Dungeon Alchemist is made by a small indie company called Briganti. Less than 10 people on the team. So we are a very small indie team. The actual definition of an indie team. We kind of grow solely by word of mouth and subtle advertising, here and there when we can afford it. That said, we do have a couple of ads we've created where we partnered with the team over at Deerstalker Productions, or you may know them as One for All, on like TikTok and Twitch and a few other places. They make a lot of cool, fun skits that are tabletop gaming related, D&D related, and they have some very fun characters that they use. Anyway, I'm going to show that ad really quick. We're going to wrap up the stream, and then we're going to start that raid, okay? Thank you, everyone, for being here. Hey, we don't raid very often, but when we do today, when you go into that raid, I would like you to use the tag, the damn raid. Okay, just damn raid, like this. So when you go in, drop the tag damn raid, okay? That cool? We're gonna run that ad, and we're gonna depart.
You stand before the long, dark road to the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta, and before—
What do we see?
I don't know, a goblin.
I kill him.
But before she does, I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to know the goblin's name.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Where do you live there, Woblin?
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever, find family, kill entire bloodline. I like it.
Seriously, we're doing this? Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin, that's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive? This map I have
To the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta, please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered mapmaker, on Steam today.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to trigger that raid right now. Remember to use damn raid when you enter the chat to let them know where you're coming from, okay? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go.